Okay, so welcome back to the channel. This is this is the latest video that we've got, just to give you an update on where we are and what we've been doing, really. To be honest, it's been quite some time since we've put a video up, simply because there's been so much going on in the background. So the last video that we put up, we were building a GTB 2060 VKLR build for the Insignia. That's now been shelved and we've moved on to something a little bit more fruity. This is an Astra GTC. So the Astra GTC is a two-door Astra. It's got some decent sort of level of kit on it. This particular vehicle I bought myself. It's got a couple of issues and I was able to get it for a pretty decent price. Biggest issue that we've got at the moment, and it's quite common to the Astras, is that the vehicle is jumping out of second gear. So obviously that's something that needs to be solved. But apparently, so I'm told, this is the second generation F40 gearbox, and Vauxhall decided in their infinite wisdom that they would update that gearbox. And what they did was they actually fitted different kinds of synchro meshes on second gear, so that the generation 1 F40 gearbox, which was incredibly strong, always was a little bit notchy going into second gear. So they thought that the best thing to do would be to actually put a different kind of synchro in, and it's given a smoother gearbox, but unfortunately a weaker gearbox. And this vehicle itself is jumping out of second gear, so when you put it from first into second, it goes in normally, and then when you accelerate, it just jumps out of gear, and obviously that's an issue. So where we're at the moment is that this engine is fine. It needs to obviously have the oil seal replaced, which is part of the course of these engines. Really, they do suffer with oil seal failure. So I'm in two minds at the moment what to do with it, whether to actually drop the subframe and remove the gearbox, or whether to actually take the engine out as a unit. It is possible that the engine could come out through the top, or we could just drop the whole subframe and bring the drivetrain out with it. That's an option. On the other option, obviously, is that the engine stays where it is. We drop the subframe, drop the gearbox. I've got a replacement gearbox for it, which is just down on the floor, so that's not a problem. Obviously, we've got a dual mass flywheel that we've got to replace, which isn't too big an issue. Obviously, if you're going to take the gearbox off and you don't know for sure that the dual mass flywheel is good, then it's always advisable to replace the dual mass flywheel, which we'll be doing. I'm going to fit a Sachs Performance clutch to it, so that obviously we're then able to deal with whatever power we can throw at it. And the bigger turbo kit and the 4-branch manifold will be going onto this engine. So hopefully we should have some more news soon. Okay, so where are we today? So as you can see in front of you, we've got the Astra still with work ongoing. Subframe's out. We've cleaned the subframe up a little bit, as you can see. It's a little bit rusty in places, but it's just surface rust, to be honest, from where we jet washed it the other day and then brushed it down with the wire brush and then allowed it to dry naturally. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be painting this once we've finished wire brushing it and made it nice and clean. Air conditioning has been removed, so the air conditioning compressor has been taken off and all of the associated pipes. We've got our pulleys here, which would normally have a large piece of a bracket on the bottom where the compressor for the air conditioning would bolt to. As you can see, we've cut that off, so that's like that. That bolts onto the engine now. We've had to obtain a shorter belt, which was a bit of a pain, if I'm completely honest, because this is a relatively new car that not many people have done this job, if any, let's be honest. It's not as simple as just going online and asking a question about a belt and then someone pops on a forum and gives you the answer. So what you've had to do is get one of the old belt, route it in the direction that we need it to go now without the compressor and obviously without power steering and everything else, cut the belt and then measure the belt and then obviously order the one that we hope will fit. So that's one thing that we've done. This is the sump, so obviously we've got the sump off, because we're taking the clutch out, so obviously it makes sense to take the sump down to replace the seal for the pickup. The pickup seal wasn't actually too bad. I think it's been done before because there was a fair bit of silicone all over the sump, but we've got another oil seal anyway. We're going to retain the plastic pickup on this one because the plastic pickup's actually not that bad a design, it's just the seal. So we're going to replace the seal obviously. Using the standard sump, we've gone into the side of the sump and fitted our drain for our turbo, which is just there, look, as you can see. We've got obviously a hole in the block where the standard drain would go, so we've just got a core plug that fits. Pop that core plug into the hole and that solved that little problem for us. We've got our oil level sensor which sits here. They're prone to leaking, so we've got a new seal for the oil level sensor. It's not here yet, so we'll pop that one in when it arrives, and then we can refit the oil seal, refit the pickup, refit the sump, and then we've got that done. Gearbox, I don't know if you can see the gearbox, but the gearbox is actually just over there on the floor, so that's just waiting for us to actually fit the gearbox. We're waiting on the performance clutch to arrive, which is coming from Germany because it's a Sachs item, and that's kind of where we are at the moment really, so we can't really go too much further, but that's okay because it gives us the opportunity to do a few things that we need to do anyway, one of those being the updated ECU. So this is the engine ECU, so obviously when we fit our new turbo we're going to have no DPF and we're going to have no EGR, which obviously if the map's not adjusted on the car's computer, the car will be going into limp home mode. We're having the remap done for the turbo up the line, so in order for that to be done, we obviously have to be able to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send off the ECU, get the DPF deleted from the ECU, get the EGR deleted from the ECU, then we should be able to drive the car without any limp home mode, hopefully. Once that's done, once the car's actually drivable, then we can obviously drive it to the place that needs to have the vehicle for the remap to be done on the rolling road and everything else. And then obviously the car is then usable, so hopefully our drive home should be a lot more exciting than our drive up to it. Without the map obviously being adjusted, the car will be laggy as hell with such a huge turbo on it, but that's to be expected. So there we go, that's where we are at the moment. So I'd like to say we're going to finish sometime soon, but I've got to be honest, I think it's going to be a little bit longer yet because we've still got to obviously do the things I've just mentioned, plus obviously we've also got to fit an upgraded intercooler too. So watch this space.